When I first started creating content, I lit my shots literally with nothing more than the room light. However, I realized that didn't look very good, so I moved on to using a ring light. After using the ring light for a while, I realized that I didn't like the look of it on camera, as well as the fact that it constantly blinded me every time I made a video. So I invested in a cheap softbox to try and fix these issues. I absolutely love how the softbox looks. However, I got a brand new setup in a brand new room and wanted something a little bit more convenient and creative in that setup. So for this one, I opted for an Elgato Keylight. The Elgato Keylight is amazing, however it's very limiting in its function, mostly because it's only really useful when you're sat down at a desk or in a fixed location. You can't really travel around with it, and me, being a professional filmmaker, needs something that's a little bit more portable. So this week we're going to be talking about a brand new light that I have been using recently, hopefully one that will replace the Elgato, but also I can use on my professional work, and that light is the Godox SL60. Before we get started though, my name is Andrew. I'm a filmmaker, content creator, and a streamer on Twitch. If you're enjoying these videos, remember to give it a like down below, give me a comment and subscribe, and also follow my social medias, which I'll leave in the doobly-doo down below. And here it is, the Godox SL60w. As you can see, it's a rather large LED professional film light. Don't get me wrong, I've been very happy with some of the lights I've been using up to now. However, I wanted to get my hands on this one for a while for a variety of reasons, but it does fix some issues I have with the previous lights I have been using. Before we get into any of that though, let's talk about what you actually get in the box when you purchase the Godox SL60w. So when you first purchase the Godox SL60w, out of the box you get the light itself, obviously, as well as a super long, super convenient power cable. Not only that though, you get a couple of accessories to help control the shape of the light. First of which being this general reflector. It will help to control the light and help you point it in the right direction. However, if you want a thinner beam, something that creates more of a spotlight feel, you also get this accessory which mounts to the front and creates a nice spotlight for the Godox. Other than those accessories, you get a remote control for the light as well. It's not Wi-Fi controlled or anything fancy like the Elgato Keylight, but it's nice to have this so that I don't constantly have to reach up high and fiddle with the dials on the back of the light when I want to change settings. Speaking of the dials on the back of the light, there's only really one you have to deal with, and this dial controls the actual power of the light from 0 all the way up to 100%. Unlike the Elgato Keylight, which is a bicolor light, which means it goes from 3600 Kelvin, which is a very warm tone, all the way up to 7000 Kelvin, which is a very cool blue looking tone. This light is kind of fixed at 5600 Kelvin, which is basically the color of daylight. Because of that though, it means it only has one color of LEDs in the light itself, which means it can put more power into that one particular color. So unlike the Elgato, where it has to split between orange and blue and white and all the other colors in between these, the SL60 won't actually have to do that. So overall, it'll actually be brighter than its Elgato counterpart at the same wattage or electrical usage. Speaking of wattage and power output, the Elgato Keylight, even though it costs more than the Godox SL60w, has less power output and isn't quite as bright as this light. The Elgato Keylight gives off 2800 lumens of brightness or light, which is the equivalent of around 200 watts if you're using an incandescent light bulb. However, the Godox gives off 4500 lumens instead, which is the equivalent of a 300 incandescent light bulb instead. Ultimately, in the real world, for you guys who are streamers or YouTube creators, that makes no real difference. However, for someone like me who's a professional filmmaker and needs a lot more throw, a lot more power, and will be working in bigger spaces, I need something that's a little bit stronger than the Elgato Keylight can provide. Just to give an example between the two lights, right now I'm using the Elgato Keylight to light me. This image looks nice enough as is, obviously. However, this light's only on 25% of its power. If I put it up to 100%, this is what you get. It's majorly overexposed. But if I correct for the overexposure now, this is the image you'd see from the Elgato at 100% instead, exposed correctly in camera, which looks rather nice. However, it does kind of blind me when I'm trying to steer it towards it, and also create some harsher shadows under my chin and under my nose from the angle it's at right now. However, if I keep all the settings and the exposure the same on this camera, but use the Godox instead at 100%, you'll end up with an image like this, which, as you can see, is a little bit brighter than the previous light. I honestly cannot see a thing right now, so I really need to fix the exposure of this again. As you've seen there though, it is a little bit brighter than the Elgato Keylight. However, the image quality is ever so slightly different. It's not an LED panel, it doesn't have diffusion on it, so the light itself isn't exactly very soft right now. So as you can see, the shadows under my nose and on my chin and jaw area are very well defined. I don't actually like this style of lighting. I don't think it's very flattering at all. The harsh shadows aren't very good, and there's one on the wall behind me which isn't exactly the most attractive, especially if you're trying to use a green screen. I wouldn't usually enjoy this, but this light has accessories and modifiers to it, so you're able to actually add things to it to create different effects and qualities and softnesses of light. So right now, in my opinion, this doesn't look very good. The shadows are very harsh and it isn't exactly what I would call a pleasing image to look at. However, this thing, whatever this is, I did buy this thing for it, is a softbox, which is designed to soften the light. It's supposed to diffuse the light, therefore it should look more flattering on my skin, as well as remove, or at least soften and make the shadows on my face, chin, jaw, and the wall behind me look a little bit softer and less noticeable. And also, because of that look, it should hopefully make my streams and videos and any other work I do look a little bit more cinematic and professional than how it looks now. You may be asking though, you already have a softbox, why do you actually need a new one? Well, the thing is, this is more powerful than my other one, and also the softbox itself is bigger, therefore the light should be softer and spread out over a bigger distance and just look better. And as I said, the bigger a softbox is, the more diffused the light is, therefore the less harsh the shadows are, and therefore it'll just look more flattering on most people. Just to demonstrate, this is an Elgato key light. It's an LED panel. It's got this nice frosty diffusion on the front of it, therefore it gives off a relatively soft light. However, the size of the light itself isn't very big. It's a little bit bigger than my head, I get it, but compared to real softboxes and the new one that I've got, it's probably about 4 times smaller, so therefore the light itself is a little bit harsher and not exactly the most flattering thing in some situations. So to compare the difference between the Elgato key light, a cheap softbox, and the brand new Godox one, the Elgato key light is obviously the smallest of the 3 options. It is around about 1 foot or so across, whereas the cheap softbox is around 0.5 meter or so. And then finally, the Godox with the softbox attached to it is around 1 meter across in width. And as you can see, this is now what it looks like. I'm very happy with how it turned out. The lights are nice and soft on my skin. The shadows roll off very nicely now, very harsh and ugly like before. So yeah, the whole image looks a little bit more professional, a little bit more cinematic, and generally I'm just very happy with it. Honestly, this setup is a little bit overkill for the majority of streamers. You'll be perfectly fine with the key light or the cheap softbox. This I use and wanted to use because obviously I can use it outside of streaming and YouTube in my more professional work, but I'm a little bit of a stickler for trying to get things to look as professional and cinematic as possible on my stream and on my YouTube video. So I wanted something that I can also use for my stuff online, as well as using it for professional stuff offline. If you are interested in this light though, I want to learn a little bit more about it, I will leave some links down below in the doobly-doo. Honestly, I'm very happy with this light, especially for the price of it. It costs, well, the light and the softbox cost me less than one key light altogether. Obviously, it's not as fancy, it doesn't have the Wi-Fi functionality or the bicolor and stuff, but it does have a nicer, more professional quality looking image. So if that's more your thing than having the fancy Wi-Fi and other such features that the key light has, and you maybe want to save a few pounds, then definitely check it out. It's worth it if you have the space for it, because it's massive. Speaking of the downsides of this light, it's not perfect, I understand that. No equipment ever is, but this does have a couple of little caveats, little issues, a few little small things that may deter you away from getting it if you were thinking about getting it as well. So there's this one, which is obviously the size of the light. So if you don't really have enough space, or your room's small, or your desk's right next to a wall or something, you're never really going to have enough space to light this set or whatever with a light like this. I barely have enough space for it. It's currently on my desk, just about scraping the wall, and I'm getting this image as is. Other than the size issue, there's also the small matter of fact that you have to actually set this light up. It's not as easy as the key lights where you can literally just screw it onto the stand and attach it to your desk. You've got to have a light stand to attach this to, then you've got to build the softbox itself and attach that to the light and then put it all up. And obviously it's not Wi-Fi controlled, so you have to either use the dial on the back or use the remote control. It's a little bit more difficult and a little bit more cumbersome to use, even though you do get a really nice image at the end of it. And last but not least, another issue that there is with this light is the fact that because it's a little bit more powerful than the key light and it's designed to be on for a while, and it's an LED light, it has an inbuilt fan to keep it cool, which is great, so you don't want your actual equipment overheating and whatnot, but that does make a little bit of noise. So if you're really close to your microphone, it might pick it up. However, it's not really loud at all, because if I just shut up now, you probably don't hear it. The fan that's in the light itself is probably less loud or not as loud as the fans that are in your PC. So if you're a streamer sat at your desk, then basically it won't really make much of a difference compared to what you usually hear in your videos. Anyway, let me know what you think of this light. Do you like the key light more? Do you like ring lights more, or the softbox, or do you actually like this one instead? I personally like the look of this one. I think it looks great and cinematic and very professional, but it's not everyone's taste. All this stuff is subjective, so let me know in the comments down below what you think and which light you'd choose. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, remember to give me a like down below, comment and subscribe for more videos in the future. Remember to give me a follow on Twitch and my other social medias, which I'll leave in the doobly-doo down below. I'll see you all in the next one though. Nightel out. Peace!
Grab my tit and orange.
I'm on my way. Not that far away. Knock two. I don't know where the other two are though.